Hello, YouTubers. This is CT Woods Art. I'm coming to you live today to bring you a video that will show you details on my art setup as an oil painter and my workflow and how I navigate through my studio to get paintings from start to completion. So I'm going to turn the camera around and I'm going to take my time and go through the things that I use to make my workflow go a little bit smoother. Now, this is what makes things work for me. You can look at this video, and some of the things you see may be good for you, and some of them may not work for you. But this is what works for me. I've been doing this for many years, and I've gotten great results with it. So I just wanted to share a quick video just so you can get an idea, especially if you're a new beginning oil painter and you want to get into painting and you want to see how things go and what the things you need in order to do the whole thing of painting. Just hang in there with me and we're going to get right to it. First things first is that in other videos I've talked about this glass palette, but today you're actually seeing me use it. So these are the basic colors that I use. So when I do my glass palette, I basically just set it on my desk. I have the brown underbody on the desk, so I don't ever like to paint and put my paints on top of white. So I try to just put the paints on the brown backing, and it gives me a more visual color of what I'm actually using. When you have your paints on white, it kind of gives you a false reading of the actual color tone that you're using. So always try to make sure that your paint palette is on something dark or a brown color, or particularly if you could, gray. Eventually what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this glass palette, flip it over, and just take some acrylic paint and just paint this gray. Now next, I have my brushes in this carousel, and what I do is all of my brushes, I basically I went to Hobby Lobby and bought these. These are very inexpensive. They're cheap. They're only like $3, $4, and you can get them real inexpensive. And I got two of them. So all of my brushes that I use are right here in this carousel, and this I got from Hobby Lobby also. And what I'm able to do is spin the brushes around and to be able to get my brushes out. Now, what I do is I have what you call the U-shape setup. So when I set my studio up, I want everything in arm's reach where I don't have to walk a long distance or get up. So I try to have it to where everything is in a U shape, in the form of a U, just like that. And in the center of the U, I'm going to have my canvas and my easel. And then on the sides, I'm going to have my palette. And on the left, because I'm a left-handed artist, and then on the right, I'm going to have my paint. So right here at reaching distance, I'm able to get a paintbrush, and I'm able to pick out which ones I want. Now, if you notice, when I'm using the paintbrushes, I normally just lay my paintbrushes down, the ones that I'm using. And the reason why I do that is because when the paintbrushes are wet and you actually put them in the Gamsol or either water if you're using acrylics, you don't want to have the brush setting up in the air. Now they make some buckets, and they rinse buckets and stands and stuff where it holds the brush in a hole and it holds the brush up like that. What will happen is that the Gamsol or whatever medium you're using, or even the paint itself, will run down into the planket. And you never want paint or any kind of solvent to get down into this planket, because what will happen, it will break down the glue that holds the bristles and cause your bristles to start to fray and to come out. So you always want to, once you start using your brushes and you put them in the Gamsol and rinse, and you put it in the water and rinse, you want to try to either lay your brush down, and they have stands where you can lay your brushes into a stand. And once they dry, you can take them and put them back into your stand. but never put them in that stand when they're wet. What I will do at the end of the night is I will clean my brushes really, really good. If you want to use soap and water, you can after you use your Gamsol if you're doing oil. And then I'll let them lay down and dry. And I'll come back the next morning if I'm not going to paint and put them back into the rack. So that's my workflow for that. And that's coming from years of dealing with brushes and buying brushes and all that stuff. And also another thing, and there may be some artists that will look at this video and they will say, well, it makes a difference. You're wrong. You should do this and do that. Well, that's their opinion. I'm telling you from my experience. And this is what I've concluded. For me, I have some very, very expensive brushes that I paid a lot of money for, artist grade brushes. And I have the cheap brushes that you can get a pack of 10, 15 for maybe $10. I've gotten those. It just depends on what I'm doing, where I will actually go out and use an expensive brush for a particular thing that I'm doing. Most of the time, the bigger brushes, I get the cheaper ones, because all I'm doing is getting the paint onto the canvas. And I just want to block in the painting and try to get rid of the white and the pencil marks and get all my colors blocked in. So I'll just use a big brush and just randomly paint until I get it all covered. Then, as I start trying to do the details and bringing everything in, that's when I'll use my more expensive brushes to where that's the final detail. But the difference is that the closer I get towards finishing the painting, the smaller my brushes are going to get. So when I start getting down to where I'm using a Filbert brush, that's if this one's a number 2 Filbert, you start noticing that this is going to be the number 1 artist grade brush that they sell at Michael's. This is a little bit more pricier brush. But if you notice, when I'm just trying to get the paint onto the canvas, this is just an El Cheapo big brush that you can get a pack of probably 10 or 15 for about $8-9. And I just use this brush just to get the paint onto the canvas. But when you use this brush, the cost of it is probably 15 to 20 bucks just for this brush. Whereas you can get a pack of 15, 20 or 10 to 15 for less than 10 bucks with this orange brush. They're different, they pale in comparison to the cost. But for me, I do not need to spend 30, 40 bucks on a brush where I'm just sloshing paint onto the canvas and just trying to get it onto the canvas. That's just me. Now, there may be some artists out there that will discredit what I'm saying, but at the end of the day, it's about your abilities to be able to paint. If you are a seasoned artist that is familiar with oil painting and acrylic painting, you can take anything and paint with it, as long as the paint will hold to whatever it is that you're using. So that's just my little advice on brushes. Now, I try to have my brush carousel here. I have all of my solvents. I mean, not solvents, but my mediums that I use. Everything is in finger arm's reach where I can get to them. And that's on my left-hand side. And when I have my studio set up, I don't use a chair. I try to use a swivel stool with an adjustable height where you can raise the stool up and down, and it's easy to get in and out. If you need to stand up and paint, you can slide the stool back, and then you can stand up and paint. So I like that idea. So I like the idea of being able to stand up. So I'm going to continue to stand just so I can show you the rest of my artist setup. Now, in the middle of my paint setup, I have what you call my easel. And this is called an H-frame easel. It has bars on both sides to where it not only holds the canvas in the center and at the bottom, it also gives it stability from side to side. Because you want the H-frame easel to be strong enough to where you can dab and push the painting into the canvas. When you're first starting a painting, the canvas is rough. You can hear it when you rub your hand. So it takes a lot of effort to push that paint into the tooth of the canvas. So you need a pretty sturdy easel if and when you get to the point where you can afford that. But for now, any easel will work. If you're not at this level, you can use a tabletop easel to set on top of your desk because you may not be painting anything this big. In that easel, I have my rinse jars for my paint brushes, and I always have that right underneath my painting. I also have rags that I use to clean my brushes and stuff off when I put them in the Gamsol. I don't like to have a lot of liquid in my brush once you put it back in the paint because it starts to do a little funky stuff. So I try to dry my brushes and monitor and meter how much medium I put in my brushes when I put it into the paint. So I always try to keep rags and whatnot together. If rags doesn't work for you, I mounted a paper towel holder on the side of my easel. You can use paper towels. I just don't like a lot of trash because what I do is I'll take these rags once they get soiled and I'll put them in the washing machine, wash them, and then I'll bring them back and reuse them. And when they get to the point where they get so much paint in them, I just throw them away. So over top of my easel, I have a LED light that clamps onto the back of my easel. I mounted it permanently, and I use that light along with the studio lights to shine light down onto the painting and keep it illuminated. So if you can see, I'm starting a new painting now, and this is basically the workflow. Now, for me, I've gotten a stand. This stand here came from Amazon. And if you go on Amazon, you can find a stand that you clamp on to a little small table. This table here I got from Marshall's in the back. It was kind of pricey, but I liked it because it collapsed. It has the foldable leaves and whatnot to where you're able to fold it up and make it smaller, or you can open it up and make it bigger. Now that's to the right of me. And what I've done is I clamped my iPad holder to that table because for me, I use an iPad as my reference photo, and I try to have my image to where I can put it onto my iPad, and I use an iPad to upload all my images to it. I'm able to pinch and draw in and whatnot for each of my reference photos. And if I'm doing like 2-3 different photos, I can load them onto here and flip to them when I need. Now this is the new iPad 13-inch with the M3 chip. This is the Air. It's not the Pro because I didn't feel for what I'm going to use this iPad for, it was necessary for me to pay double the price for this 13-inch iPad. It has most all the features that the 13 Pro iPad has, and the difference is a flash and an upgraded camera. I think it has either the M4 or the M5 chip that makes it a faster processor, which I have used this iPad extensively with photo editing software and also video editing software, which takes up a lot of CPU power. This iPad does fine. For what I use it for, probably 85% of what I use this iPad for is in the studio. I use very little use with this iPad and anything else. Now, when I do a show, when I do a festival or something, I'll use it as my cash register for checkout with Square, because that's what I use for, when I do festivals and art shows where I'm selling my art. Now, so in your setup, You can get a clamp-on bracket to hold your iPad, and you need to have it perpendicular to the actual art piece. Here, here, here. Palette, paintbrushes, easel with canvas, iPad, small table to hold your devices and stuff on. You know, I'll put my cell phone here. I'll have my remote to the TV here, my PlayStation controller, which controls the different functions on the PlayStation while I'm painting, because I actually use my PlayStation as a center console for the studio. A lot of people will tell you, you shouldn't have a TV in your studio. You don't need to be looking at TV and blah, blah, blah. Well, that's their opinion. This is your world. Like Bob Ross said, this is your world. You can do what you want in your world, and that's what makes me happy. It soothes me. So I have a TV in my studio, and I actually watch YouTube and different artists and YouTubers to get information. I have that stuff playing in the background where I'm actually listening but not looking, and I get information while I'm painting. So while I'm painting and thinking, I'm pulling in information. I'm learning and I'm listening in the background to things. This is a perfect opportunity for you to take in information and to process and to think and to enhance your mind and your thinking. So this whole area is an area of creating. It's all about you as the artist. And then after I show you my TV that I have in the studio and my iPad, my table, I come to my paint rack. This is going to be to my right hand. I grab my paint and I put the paint onto the palette. So just to my right, I have all my colors of paint. I have the big tubes separated from the smaller tubes, and everything is pretty much color coordinated. And I have them hung on this pegboard. And then I went on Amazon and bought these little hooks. The hooks were probably 15, 20 bucks. It came in a box with probably about 250 pieces. And I was able to go to Lowe's and get a 4x8 sheet of pegboard. And I actually put some 2x2 strips on the wall and mounted this to the wall. And now it gives me the option to put these hangers in here. And I hang my paint onto the hooks. Now, if you notice, each one of these paints, they have this paper clip, which everybody that does office work or been in an office, they have seen these. You can go to Dollar General and get boxes of these for like $1, $2. I think it may be 15 or 20 in a box for less than $2, $3. So I went and I bought maybe 10 boxes for less than 12 bucks. And now I have plenty of these to put on each one of my tubes of paint. It allows me to flip one down and clip it onto the paint, and then I'm able to hang all of my paints up. And I'm able to keep everything organized. And of course, you see my stand for when I'm YouTubing and when I'm actually making videos. I use this for my projector in instances when I use it. I got some extra tempered glass palettes here. This is something that I do as an artist. I tube my own paint. So there's certain paint that that I use that takes a while to mix up. So I'll pre-mix those paints and put them into a tube and seal them and write on them, put labels on them and everything. And they will become a part of my paint collection. So as you see all of this, I have a drawer here where I have my own pre-mixed paint. So most of this I use for my skin tones when I'm doing portrait paintings because they're very special paints that I use. Most of the people that I paint are the Caucasian skin and then also black skin. And those color tones are the most common. So being an artist, you have to know this. You have to know this. You have to know what colors that you use to make skin look real. So there's a number from 2 all the way up to 14, also with the cool shadow and the warm shadow colors. And you have to know what these colors are. In another video, I will talk about making skin tone colors and how I process and how I make these paints to put them in the tubes so that I can have them readily available. Now, once I put them in this tube and seal them off and put the top on, this will last for years. This will last just as long as the tubes of paint that you buy from Hobby Lobby, Michaels, and the Autorama. These will last just as long. So I'm going to make a separate video talking about this, but this has really helped my workflow. And once again, I have to say that you have to know how to mix skin tones. Now, prior to this, I would spend hours mixing up paint to get ready to paint skin. And now, in a matter of minutes, I can put the paint on my palette. If I need to paint someone that has fair skin, I have the paint here. If I have to paint someone that has dark skin, I have the paint already made up. And in my mind, I know what it takes in order to produce that color of skin. Now, when you start painting different nationality of people, then there are certain elements of color that has to be present in order for that skin to look like the skin of that person in the region in which they come from. Now, as an artist, you have to know these things. And when you're a portrait painter, you definitely have to know these things. They're very, very important. Now, as I move on, you'll see this is my candle section. I burn candles while I paint. So I always try to have my rack nearby where I can grab a candle. And I have probably 30 or 40 candles. They're all over my studio. And I have my torches that I light. These are rechargeable. And I use this to light my candles. This is just some personal preference of mine. It all adds to the whole ambiance and surroundings of my studio when I'm in the studio painting. This is my support stick that I use when I'm trying to paint intricate details to keep my hand from getting into the paint. This is my PlayStation, which is the console that I use to control my TV. I don't play many video games on it because I've gotten to a point to where I just don't have time to spend that much time playing video games. But I still like technology, so I still have it, and I use it for Netflix. I use it for YouTube and all the different streaming services, and it works good as a center console. All around my studio, I have art hung on the wall, pieces that I'm actually working on. I have hung on the wall. Now, that's something different than what other artists will tell you. They tell you not supposed to have other paintings on the wall while you're painting at because it distracts you from the piece that you're working on. Well, that doesn't work for me. This is my world. I do what it is that I want to do that works best for me. So for me to have my paintings around the wall, I can look at them. It brings me joy. It brings me happiness. So that's what I do. And if it works for you, I suggest you do it too. Now, in this drawer, you'll notice that I have paints here too. Now, here's the difference with these paints and the ones you see on the wall. There's going to be paints that you use exclusively, and they're like the staples. And you have them and I'm right-handed, so I'm left-handed, so I have most everything that I use on a regular right near my left hand, so I don't have to go through a lot of trouble to grab those things. This video is basically about workflow. So, Naples yellow, black, white, Prussian blue, and burnt sienna, sap green, yellow ochre, phthalo blue, Payne's gray, and of course, burnt umber. These are colors you're going to use all the time. And there's no need in me even hanging them up because every time that I paint, I'm going to use these colors. If you even look on the palette, you're going to see them. I don't, it's other colors that I very rarely use, because if you learn color theory, you can mix most of these colors with just the basic paints. So once you become good at it, you know what most of your paintings use, and then you can graduate from what people normally do by just getting all their paints down and got a bunch of paints laying on the table because they think that they're going to use it. Well, I'm down to a point now to where I know exactly what I'm going to use. So I have these readily available. Instead of hanging them on the wall, they pretty much stay here. I use a razor blade to clean my palette, so I always have that close by and handy. Now, as far as, let's see what else. When I'm using acrylics, I do acrylics from time to time. I have a spray bottle. I recommend that you use the pressurized sprayer instead of just the little squirt bottle. This puts out a mist instead of a streaming spray. So when I'm doing acrylics, I use this pressurized spray bottle. It itemizes the water and it makes it more of a mist, more so than a stream of water. You definitely need to have your Gamsol pure odorless mineral spirits. Now, what I will recommend, I did tell you that I use rags to clean up behind my mineral spirits. Now, what I recommend you not to do, and I really do mean this, is that those rags, when they get soiled with this Gamsol, you do not need to throw those rags in the trash, because they can heat up and they can be combustible. I'm not going to go into a whole lot of details on that theory. I've never had a problem with it, but I try to keep the rags out in the opening where they can get oxygen. When they get soiled, I take them and I go ahead and wash them and clean them up, and then I reuse them. Now, that's what I do. Now, somebody on the YouTube may have an issue with that, but that's what I do. And I have never had a problem, but I do not put these rags in the trash can because they can pack together tight and they can heat up and they can be a combustible thing where they'll easily catch on fire. So just be careful when you have mineral spirit, Gamsol, soap rags. In terms of workflow, I got plenty of light in the studio, and for me, it works good. The things that I've shown you, it may not work for you, but this definitely works for me. And like I said, I have what you call a U. Everything is in a U pattern. And I basically slide my stool into the middle, and I'm able to swivel from left to right and access everything from my stool. Even when I'm standing up and I remove the stool, I'm still able to just stand in one spot and paint. Now, my easel, there's a clip on the bottom that you can pull, and you can raise the easel up and down. You want to make sure that you're able to raise your easel up and down. And one other thing that I want to show you, and these are tools that I use when I'm painting. Now, this device, some of these paints that you come across, when they get a little age on them, these tops are very hard to get off. Well, this basically has different indentations for different size tops. You basically find the top that it fits, and you basically put the top in there and you clamp down on it, and then you use that to turn, and that makes it easy to get these tops off. So that's a tool that you can find at I think this I got this in Virginia Beach at Dave's, I think Dave's Autorama. I'm not really sure, but this is the barcode. If you want to pause the video and scan it, you'll be able to find this online and be able to order it. But this is a very necessary piece to have in your studio. Now, that's one of my tools that I use a lot. Palette knife. I don't know, but for me, this is all I ever use. I actually paint with this. I actually use it to mix my paint and everything. I just don't use any other palette knife. And I'll tell you, a palette knife is personal. You know, I can say to you on this video that this palette knife works good for me. And this is definitely, oh, this is the best palette knife to use. Well, when you start painting and doing your workflow, you'll find that this doesn't work for you. You'll find that maybe a bigger palette knife with a bigger spaded bottom works better for you. Or you may prefer a palette knife that has more of a spade and a flat, wider spatula type shape on the end. That works better for you. Or you may find this type works better for you. So it's one of those things, as a new artist, you need to experiment. I would just go buy some plastic ones and experiment with them and see which one you like best, and do it for a little while, and then maybe, and just maybe, you'll conclude which one works better for you. Now, for me, I'm an artist that's seasoned, so I have them all, but I don't even really use them. I just basically use one palette knife, and I have several of these. That's the one that I use. But make sure whichever one you choose, you eventually get with the planket, metal planket, and a wooden handle. It's just going to give you that good feel and that durability to where it stays with you and lasts for a long time. Another tool that's definitely a necessity is this color squash with the holes in it. Sometimes when you're duplicating a painting and trying to get the colors and stuff right, you don't know what a certain color is, and there's a lot of times based on how you lighting and how things look, you can't tell what color it is. It kind of can be deceiving. So this right here takes the guesswork out of it. You can take this and you got so many different color variations, and you can find out exactly what color it is. And once you find the color, at least close to the family, then it shows you where you can add a particular color to this particular base color, and then it'll give you the graduation of color renderings with adding titanium white and adding possibly ivory black. So this is definitely a tool that's good to have. And of course, I just take it and I hang it on a hook. You always want to have a good ruler. I have 5 or 6 of these. I have the metal ones, and I also have the wooden ones. Especially when you're doing like a beach scene, you definitely want to be able to make that straight line at the equator, because that's very important. We're getting your picture to look realistic, and you want that line to be completely straight and completely level. A lot of people will just take tape and use that to make the equator line on beach scenes and also on landscapes. Certain landscapes have what you call earth to sky contact, to where you have to have a straight horizontal line. It's always good to have a level and rulers in your studio. So, you know, if you can't afford to buy the expensive one, just a basic plastic ruler will work. But you need to have something, and you need to have different sizes. So I have this one, which I think is 18 inches. I have the 24 and the 36. See, like those fence bars, this was necessary in order for me to get those straight. So I use this to paint that. And then make sure you have a rag so you can wipe off that wet paint, so you don't gum up your ruler and have it onto your numbers and your letters. But definitely have a ruler in your studio. So that's a tool that you definitely need in your studio. Let's see, what else do we have as a tool that you would need? Now, for me, I have different setups. This is a magnifying glass. Certain things require some very intricate details, so I'll have a magnifying glass readily available where I'm able to hold the magnifying glass and paint. And I do have a clamp-on surgical magnifying glass with the LED light in it. I'm not going to bring that out and show it to you. I purchased that from off Amazon. It was very inexpensive. I think it was 25 bucks, but it was definitely worth every penny that I paid for it. So get you a magnifying glass for now, so you can do intricate details. You'd be surprised how much accurate you can do some final details when you get a magnifying glass. Let's see what else. We're getting close to the end of the video. Now, there is a lot of people ask me about how do you keep your paints. Well, I keep my paints, I try not to mix anything into my paints on this palette that's going to make the drying time speed up. And I try to finish my paintings within a week. Most of this paint, if you don't add some type of medium that will speed up the drying time, most of this paint will stay wet days after I squirt it out onto the palette. But there is a thing that I did buy, and it's this. And what I did, it comes with a lid. Let me get the blue lid out. Let me see, can I get it with one hand? Y'all excuse me, I'm trying to work with one hand. This is the item here. And the whole thing is I made a palette that I had the glass company that cuts glass. I had them to cut me a piece of glass that fits right into here. So I would put my paints onto the glass palette, put it inside of here. When I got through working at the end of the day, I would put the glass palette in here. And then this lid is like a Tupperware lid. You got to put a lot of pressure on those edges for this to click into this. And it makes what you call an airtight seal. And it keeps the paint from drying up. This paint will stay in this compartment, if sealed properly, for at least 1 to 2 weeks. And if you put it in the refrigerator, it will last even longer than that. I don't know what it is about the refrigerator, but if you take oil paint, put it into this container, and then put it in the refrigerator, it will last like it almost lasts in the tube. So you really can just stop this from drying if you do those two things that I just said. Now this device here, you can buy it from Michaels. It's about 25, 30 bucks. And it's well worth it. I don't use it because I have a different type of workflow with my paint. So I don't have to store my paints. And I basically use the paint up before it dries. So this is my setup, but I'm just showing you all the different options so you will know. And that's a tool that you definitely should invest in. I'm trying to make sure that I'm not leaving out anything as far as the workflow for painting. And I just think that much the things that you need to make sure that you're able to make a successful painting. There's a few other things that I will get into a little later on in a little later videos that I think that are important, but they're kind of advanced. And yeah, I don't want to overload you with information today, because I don't think that it's necessary for you to know that in order to get started as a beginning oil painter or a portrait painter. And I'm really trying to think off the top of my head before I close this video out, is there anything else that you need? Now, of course, there's going to be some pencils and things that you need in order to be able to draw onto your canvas when you actually draw in your image and whatnot, like pencil trimmers and whatnot. I invested in a heavy-duty pencil trimmer that you plug in to sharpen your pencils, because I use lead pencils, but sometimes I like to use a real pencil in order to draw onto the canvas. I like the sharpness of the real pencil. So I bought a pencil trimmer to make sure that I keep my pencils trimmed. Also, we're going to do a segment where we're going to gesso a canvas and show you the proper way to gesso a canvas to make sure you're getting ready, getting your canvas ready for paint. A lot of people tell you that you don't have to gesso your canvas. Well, I'm here to tell you that you don't have to, but there's always a but. It does make the paint much smoother, and you have a much smoother finish on your canvas when you gesso your canvas. Some people are so particular about it, they will gesso 3 times and then sand between coats. So I don't go to those extremes, but I do gesso. So we thank you for spending this much time with me. This was kind of a long video, but it was necessary. I wanted to make sure that you got the basic details of how to set up your studio to start getting ready to paint. I hope that this video wasn't repetitive of what I've already posted, but I felt that you needed to see the actual workflow of me and how my studio works for me when I'm actually painting. I did the other videos actually showing you the different things that you need, but this video pretty much shows you how the setup works and how it flows with just actually producing a painting and how it works along with what it is that I do. So thank you so much for coming and watching this video. I please would beg you to subscribe and to click that notification bell because I'm always posting new content and trying to give you insight on how it is and what it is that you need to know in order to become great artists. And as I've always saying in my other videos and my mantra that I try to give everywhere I go, we're painting, trying to light up the world one painting at a time. All right, bye-bye.